Are the Hadiths equivalent to the Qur'an? Were the Hadiths protected like the Qur'an? This common understanding is false and exaggerated. Of course, our Prophet was trained in revelation, and revelation guided him, educated and informed him. A leader who communicates and practices this revelation as an educational guide will of course say a few things to the people around him. He will train them, he will tell them how to sit up, eat, not to eat, talk and not to talk, and will tell people about what religion teaches. What is Hadith? It is the information about the Prophet's speeches and behaviors. Therefore, it is not right to say that the Prophet never spoke. He did not say anything to people and reject all Hadiths. A number of foreign elements were also involved in these Hadiths. Many things about foreign religions and beliefs were mixed into this culture in general. Hadiths were compiled after the 1st century Hijri. Let's say that our most famous authentic Hadith book is Bukhari. The author of this book, Bukhari, passed away 256 years after the Hijra. Muslim is also his student. He passed away 265 years after the Hijra. Other Hadith books were also written later. The earliest compiler, Imam Malik, passed away in Hijri 179. So, are the Hadiths equivalent to the Qur'an? In my book, I explain the subject in 4 main headings in detail. 1. Hadiths have no protection, as the Qur'an is under the protection of God. 2. Hadiths were not written the moment our Prophet said them and talked, as the revelation was written by the clerks. People may have written small notes in their own way. After the Prophet emigrated to Medina, he recited about 500 sermons on Fridays. None of them is written. There's not even as many as 10 hadiths collected from these Friday sermons. Therefore, hadiths were not recorded by clerks instantly like revelation. 3. There was no immediate recitation of hadiths like the recitation of the Qur'an. 4. As the word of the Holy Qur'an comes to us word by word, the hadiths have not come the same way, but they have come as approximate meaning. Something was heard from our Prophet, then someone listened to him, then he listened to the previous one, and so forth. Therefore, each hadith has at least 5, 6, 7 narrators in the deed chain. Each of these narrators lived for at least 30, 40, 60 years. The hadiths are narratives that convey the meaning that remained in their minds to each other as approximate meaning. You find that there are different narrations of a hadith. One says it in one way, another says it in another way. Everyone uses different words. Therefore, most of the hadith users at the end of their speech said, the Prophet said something similar to this. So, from the beginning of the 2nd century after the Hijra, the hadiths were compiled within society and started to be published. With the participation of various people within the Islamic society of that time, both the language and the understanding of the religion became blurred. Different parties like Mu'tazila, Qadariya, Jabariya, followers of Sunnah, Shia emerged in that period. All of them were in conflict with each other. A lot of foreign cultures and insights brought by other peoples have been described as religion as well. Language was distorted and religion was blurred. For this reason, since the hadiths are not explained directly by the words of our Prophet, the scholars of the period that determined the rules of Arabic language did not accept the hadiths as an example text for the rules of Arabic. Why is that? Because the language in the society was disrupted by that time. The language lost its fluency and eloquence. The hadiths in that society were spoken as narrated by the last narrator, and expressions that a final narrator used were not respected. They were not accepted as evidence, measure, or sample. The scholars who tried to determine the rules of the grammar of the language were going to the provinces and villages. They set the rules of the Arabic language by looking at how the villagers spoke. Therefore, they did not accept hadith as a sample text. If it is the Prophet's word, who can dare not to take it as an example? He's going to speak a sentence, and can someone say, I don't like your Arabic, I do not take it as a sample? In summary, the hadiths are not protected by God, like the Qur'an. They were not written and recited immediately. Hadiths were not inherited word by word, but by approximate meaning. Therefore, it cannot be considered that hadiths are similar to the Qur'an and equivalent to the Qur'an.